Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're diving into a seriously fascinating exercise for this explainer. We're looking at a source document that's just, well, it's so exceptionally sparse, so radically minimalist, that it's literally going to force us to rethink how we consume information altogether. We're not going to be swimming in oceans of data today, folks. Instead, we're going to profoundly deconstruct an artifact that makes its entire point through sheer, absolute brevity.
I actually want you to just take a second and really think about this question. Seriously, how many words does it take to explain a legend?
Okay, let's jump right into Section 1, the expectation of legend.
Think about the sheer conceptual weight we attach to that single word, legend. I mean, it promises mythos, right? It promises these sweeping narratives, towering achievements, and this massive historical footprint. You know, when a document introduces itself as being about a legend, our brains almost instantly prepare to absorb just a huge volume of awe-inspiring info. We literally brace ourselves for the extraordinary.
Which brings us to Section 2, the singular excerpt.
And that's it. That is the absolute entirety of the excerpt provided in our source text. Just the name. Nothing else. Take a second. Let the absolute minimalism of that really sink in.
Now look at this incredibly striking formatting discrepancy here. The introductory text, excerpts from The Legend of Cristiano Ronaldo, is exactly 7 words long. It's formal, it's got this nice title format, but the actual delivered excerpt, just 2 words. The buildup is quite literally longer and way more robust than the actual information it introduces. It's such a fascinating visual and numerical imbalance, don't you think?
Moving right along to Section 3, deconstructing the name. So because the text we're given is so radically isolated, it's totally stripped of any verbs, any adjectives, literally any surrounding context at all, we kind of have to perform this micro-linguistic breakdown. On one side, you've got the legend, this mythological, abstract, incredibly heavy concept. And on the other side, we have Cristiano Ronaldo, just a literal human name. Watch how this builds as we break down this human name syllable by syllable to really grasp its rhythmic footprint on the page.
It starts off really sharply, crisp.
Then a rapid continuation.
Din! And then we hit this solitary, wide-open vowel. Ah. It kind of forces this slight pause in the pronunciation, right in the smack middle of the name, really highlighting the whole avant-garde nature of what we're actually looking at here.
And boom, it resolves the first name. No. These fragmented sounds have now completely assembled the very first half of our legendary excerpt.
Then we shift immediately right into the surname, Rowe. You can feel the sound is a bit heavier, more rolling.
Building right toward the climax of the phonetic structure. Now.
Do. That final syllable just lands with absolute resonant certainty. Cristiano Ronaldo. The whole auditory buildup concludes, pretty much just leaving the name hanging right there in the empty space of the page.
Let's unpack that in Section 4, the power of omission.
Stepping back for a second, why does this actually work? Well, we're exploring a pretty fascinating meta-analysis here. The idea that true, monolithic, legendary status might actually require absolutely no exposition whatsoever. Think about it. The crucial point is mapped out right in front of us. First, the title sets this incredibly high bar, right? Just a massive expectation. Second, using the plural word excerpts strongly implies that there's this larger, exhaustive body of work out there somewhere. Third, the text we actually get gives us absolutely nothing but the subject's name. Which leads us to the final and honestly brilliant point. The complete lack of exposition isn't some sort of mistake, it becomes the ultimate statement itself.
0, exactly 0. That is the number of biographical details, the number of timelines, statistics, or anecdotes present in our source material. Literally 0. And paradoxically, that big fat 0 perfectly illustrates the sheer, unadulterated power of name recognition. You really don't need the data when the name itself functions as the data.
And that brings us to our final section, Section 5, Legend Beyond Words.
Let's just take a look at the entire source document one last time in its full context. Excerpts from The Legend of Cristiano Ronaldo. Looking at it now, you can totally see its brevity not as an error and not as missing information, but as this completely undeniable, self-evident sentence. It totally justifies itself entirely on its own merit.
So, I want to leave you with a lingering thought for today. It's really a profound look at the mechanics of fame and the power of the unspoken word. When a name truly becomes a legend, what more is there to say? Sometimes the absolute loudest statement you could ever make is to simply state the name and let the silence do the rest. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredibly focused explainer, and as always, keep asking the big questions.